Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with Revenge with Nora, where revenge is so strong, but don't worry, Nora knows how to handle it. So without wasting time, let's begin the story in the Nora's voice.
Don't look at your brother's plate. You should be thankful we feed you at all. Mom hissed, yanking the dog's bowl off the floor, still greasy with old meat fat, and shoving it toward me. Dad just sat there, phone out, filming like always. My brother? He laughed, mouth full of steak, then wiped his hands on a napkin I wasn't allowed to use. If you've ever been treated like a ghost in your own home, if you've ever gone to bed hungry while someone laughed over a full plate just a few feet away, then maybe you'll understand what I'm about to say. Hi everyone. My name is Nia. And I don't say this for pity. I say it because once upon a time I was that girl. The girl crouched on the kitchen floor, barefoot, holding a dog bowl while her mother smirked and said, "You're lucky we don't put you outside with the mutt." They called it tough love. Said it would build character. But I was 10. 10 with cracked lips, bruised knees, and a stomach that growled louder than the TV in the next room. That night the bowl had cold beans stuck to the sides. No spoon. Just fingers. They made me sit by the back door because, as Mom said, "You smell like poverty." Dad laughed. And the phone kept recording. I didn't cry. Not out loud. Because I learned early that tears only made them feel stronger. But something snapped that night. It wasn't loud. It was silent, like a wire pulled too tight. And as I curled up on the kitchen floor beside the family dog, I whispered to myself, someday they'll eat silence the way I ate shame. Because I wasn't going to stay small forever. And they didn't know that one day, they'd be the ones knocking. Hungry. The floor was cold that night. But I stayed there. Because every time I moved, every creak of the floorboard, Dad lifted the camera again. And I didn't want to give him more content. He uploaded those clips somewhere. Called them Parenting Reality. Even titled one, Ungrateful Daughter Throws Tantrum Over Dog Food. But I wasn't ungrateful. I was starving. And tired of smelling like dog bowls and shame. That winter I started saving. Little coins I found in couch cushions. Tips I earned when I secretly started wiping tables at the local bakery after school. They didn't know. They never asked where I disappeared to. Mom said I was dead weight. She only spoke to me when I needed to clean up after my brother. "He's the future," she'd say. "You're just here." I stopped talking altogether by age 12. It was safer that way. But I was watching. Bernie. Planning. I slept with a plastic bag under my pillow. One I filled with socks, a spare shirt, and that little coin pouch. And one night when my brother got a brand new PlayStation while I got a box of used pencils for my birthday, I made my decision. I waited until they were asleep. Mouths open, snoring like they hadn't ruined someone's life by noon. And I slipped out. No shoes. No coat. Just that plastic bag, my scraped dignity, and a hunger so sharp it felt like fire in my ribs. I didn't look back. As if I had, I might have heard them laugh in their sleep. Or worse. I might have stayed. The street was darker than I expected. And colder. I was 13, barefoot, and had exactly $8.32 in my bag. But you know what else I had? Resolve. And that was worth more than anything they'd ever given me. That night I slept behind a bakery dumpster. Wrapped in old cardboard, breathing through cracked lips. But when I closed my eyes, I whispered again, someday they'll feel this cold. They'll feel this hunger. And I'll be the one with the door they can't reach. I woke up stiff. My back ached from the concrete. My fingers were so numb, they barely closed around the zipper of my plastic pouch. But I didn't cry. Instead I stood up, dusted off the flour-dusted cardboard, and walked into the bakery like I belonged there. The owner, Mrs. Keller, looked startled. She had crow's feet and strong hands. "You're that girl who wipes tables," she said slowly. I nodded. She stared at me for a long second, then pointed to the back. "Wash up. You're on rolls today." No questions. No judgment. Just the kindness of someone who'd seen the world chew people up and spit them out, and decided not to become the same. I worked hard. After 2 weeks she gave me a cot in the storeroom. After 2 months she called me family. I never told her about the dog bowl, or the steak plates, or how my brother used to spit water in my cereal and laugh. Some stories rot more when you speak them aloud. But I remembered. Every single day. Every time I cleaned the flour bin. Every time I counted the change. I remembered how Mom once poured orange juice into the trash and told me there wasn't any left, then handed my brother the full carton with a wink. I told myself, this isn't revenge. This is rebirth. By 16 I'd finished high school at night. By 18 I had my own baking certificate. And by 22, I bought the bakery when Mrs. Keller retired. She left me the keys with trembling hands and said, "You made this place better than I ever did." I hugged her, tighter than I ever hugged my own mother, because Mrs. Keller never made me feel like less. She didn't know she had saved a starving girl, not just from hunger, but from becoming bitter. Still, I never forgot the hunger, never forgot the silence of that cold kitchen floor. And when the letter arrived that day, cream-colored envelope, red ink on the return address, I froze. It was from them. That we need help. I stood in the middle of the bakery holding that envelope. My hands didn't shake, not outwardly, but something deep beneath the skin felt like it was splintering. The handwriting was hers. Sharp, proud, like every word she'd ever spit at me. Except now it said, "Nia, your father and I are in a difficult place. Your brother's gone. The house burned. We have nothing." That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just those 6 final words. "We have nothing. Please help us." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. They had everything. Once. The good plates, the inheritance from Grandma. The business Dad ran into the ground after firing all the non-family staff. They had weekends at the beach, steak dinners, silk curtains, while I ate off metal. And now, nothing. I tucked the letter into my apron pocket and finished my shift. Didn't speak a word about it. Didn't even flinch when I dropped 2 loaves into the oven and the heat singed my wrist. That pain felt grounding. But late that night, in the silence of the storeroom office, I opened the envelope again. This time I noticed a second note hidden behind the main letter. It was scrawled on lined paper, torn from a notebook. The handwriting was shaky, like a child's. "I'm sorry for what they did. I wanted to help you, but they never let me. James, my cousin. He was the only one who used to sneak me food when he visited. A half banana once. A biscuit another time. Always in secret. Always afraid. I hadn't thought of him in years. But that note brought the scent of childhood dirt floors and tears flooding back. And suddenly I saw it all. Mom crying not for me but for herself. Dad shouting because life had turned its back on him, unaware that he was the one who taught it how. I looked at the letter. Then at the bakery walls I had built with burnt fingers and a stitched sole. I had every reason to throw it away. I picked up my phone and dialed the number at the bottom. The phone rang only once before she picked up. "Hello." Her voice was softer, or maybe weaker. I stayed quiet for a breath. "It's me." Silence. Then a sharp inhale. "Nia," she whispered. "Your voice sounds different." I didn't respond to that. She didn't deserve to hear the strength in my voice. The strength she never thought I'd have. Instead I said, "I got your letter." There was a pause. Then, in a trembling tone I had never heard from her in my life, she said, "We're desperate. Your father's sick. The roof leaks. James told me you have a bakery." We didn't know where else to turn. I stared at the golden crust of the fresh loaves beside me. Steam rising, warm, perfect. And I thought, how ironic. The girl they wouldn't feed was now their only source of food. "We need a place to stay," she added. "Just until we get back on our feet." I smiled. Not out of joy, but out of some slow-burning, quiet ache that had been waiting for this moment since I was 13. "I can give you food," I said. "For a week." She started to thank me. "But not shelter," I added. "And not pity." "Nia, please." I cut her off. "You remember the kitchen floor?" She didn't answer. "I do. I remember how the dog got a cushion and I got tile." Silence. "The offer stands," I said calmly. "Pick up the food before noon. That's all." And I hung up. I stood there, heart quiet, hands steady. Because this wasn't revenge. This wasn't rage. This was the quiet power of saying no, without shouting, without tears. The next morning they showed up. Dirty car. Sunken faces. She knocked timidly. Dad stood behind her using a cane. He wouldn't meet my eyes. And when I stepped outside with 2 paper bags of food, she whispered, "We didn't know you'd become so whole." I didn't answer. I simply handed her the bags, nodded once, and walked back inside. I didn't look back. But I knew. He was crying. Not from hunger, but from memory. I leaned against the back door, hands still on the knob. The scent of cinnamon and yeast drifted through the bakery like a quiet comfort. But I couldn't taste it. Not in that moment. Her words echoed in my mind. You look so whole. What she meant was, you weren't supposed to survive. They thought breaking me young would keep me broken forever. But they never realized. Some of us grow stronger in silence. Later that day, James showed up. I hadn't seen him in over a decade. But when he walked through the bakery door holding a bag of sugar like it belonged in his soul, I knew. He hadn't forgotten either. He helped me restock the shelves. Didn't say much at first. But there was a moment, when we were bagging rolls, he glanced at me and said softly, I used to leave biscuits behind the trash can. Did you ever find them? I froze. Then nodded once. He smiled. Tired. Wistful. They made fun of me too sometimes. Said I was soft. But you were always braver than me. I don't know why that sentence hit me the way it did. But I turned to him, eyes stinging, and said, no one ever said that to me before. He just shrugged. Like it was the most obvious truth in the world. That night, I went home to my tiny apartment above the bakery. Sat on the window ledge with tea in hand. Stared out at the quiet street below. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel victorious. But I felt, like every piece of me they chipped away had finally found its way back. The next morning they came again. Knocked. This time with their heads bowed lower. She asked for bread. He asked for water. I gave them both. Not because they deserved it, but because I remembered what it felt like to beg and be mocked. Before she turned to leave, she glanced behind her and said, we sleep in the car now. There's mold in our lungs. If we could just stay somewhere for a few days. I paused. Looked at them. Really looked. Then said softly, the dog had a cushion. I didn't. And I shut the door. That night I didn't sleep. Not because I felt guilty, but because I could still hear the scrape of their car tires against the curb. The way they sat there, motionless just beneath my window. 4 hours. Like ghosts waiting for a door that would never open. I sat at my kitchen table, fingers wrapped around a chipped mug. Steam rose. But the tea had long gone cold. There was a time I'd have done anything to hear them call my name. Even if it was cruel. Even if it hurt. But now their silence felt powerless. In the morning, James returned. He didn't ask questions. Just started sweeping the floor like he had always been there. They're still outside, he said, not looking up. I know. You're not letting them in? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I sliced into a loaf of bread, golden, still warm, and wrapped it in cloth. They taught me hunger, I finally said. Now they're learning what it feels like. He nodded. Then added, you're not doing this out of hate. No, I said softly. I'm doing it out of memory. I handed him the bread. Give this to them, I said. Tell them it's from the dog. His eyebrows lifted. But he didn't question it. I watched from behind the curtain as he approached their car. They opened the window slowly. Took the bread like it was gold. Didn't ask for more. When he returned, he set the empty cloth on the counter and said, they're different now. Smaller. So was I. He hesitated. You could let them stay in the storeroom. Just a night. I shook my head. That space saved me. I won't let their shadows touch it. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And kindness doesn't mean exposure. Later that night, someone left an envelope under the bakery door. No stamp. Just a folded paper scrawled in Dad's familiar, shaking hand. You were never the dog. You were the storm that came after. I didn't cry. I just stood there in the doorway of everything they once denied me, and whispered to the empty air. Finally, they see it. Winter came early that year. The bakery windows frosted over in the mornings. But inside everything was warm. Cinnamon in the air, golden light across the floor. Laughter from customers who'd made this place their ritual. They didn't know the girl I used to be. They saw a woman who moved with calm precision. Who handed out loaves with soft smiles. Who never raised her voice even when the delivery truck was late or the heater made that strange groaning sound again. But I remembered her. I remembered her every morning when I stepped barefoot onto the bakery's tile. Not because I had to, but because I chose to. To honor that girl. That little version of me who once sat beside a dog's bowl and decided she would never be that small again. Mom and Dad never came back after that last letter. James told me they'd left the city, moved somewhere quieter, started over in a trailer by the edge of the river. He still visits, still sweeps the floor like it matters, still leaves a biscuit on the counter when he thinks I'm not looking. An old memory in warm bread. One afternoon I found a photo outside the bakery door. No note. Just an image. It was the three of them. Mom, Dad, and my brother. But not the way I remembered. This time he was holding the bowl. And they were the ones standing behind him empty-handed. Something in me twisted. Not out of joy. Not even out of revenge. But out of the strange, aching realization that they had finally become what they made me feel like. Wanted. Left out. Small. I placed the photo in the donation tin at the front of the store. Folded, quiet, forgotten. Because the truth is, I no longer needed them to remember. I remembered enough for us all. And when people ask how I did it, how I rose from the scraps they gave me, I just smile and say, some of us don't just survive, we rise hungry. And when the hunger fades, all that's left is peace.